Denzel Washington once again rallies against his lovable persona. You're watching Beyond the Trailers review of Flight.
How you feeling, Whip? Looked like you pulled some kind of move up there, man. You saved a lot of lives.
We are in a dive.
I have no control on my side.
We going down? Everybody embrace positions.
The way you landed that plane was nothing short of a miracle.
I see nothing but houses!
Evan, listen to me. Trim us nose down.
Plane fell apart at 30,000 feet.
We're gonna roll it.
What do you mean, roll it?
Much like Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington is known for being a good guy, the likable, down-to-earth kind of movie star that audiences can both look up to and relate to. Yet, interestingly, Washington has won both his Oscars for doing just the opposite. First, there was his angry slave-turned-soldier in Glory, followed by his turn as a crooked narcotics officer in Training Day. And now here we are again with Washington playing against type and garnering some major Oscar buzz. Here in Flight, he plays airline pilot and drug addict Whip Whitaker, who pulls off a harrowing emergency landing due to faulty equipment while high on drugs. And while the crash dominates the advertising for the film, the majority of the story focuses on whether or not Washington's character can be redeemed. Now, any film that has John Goodman, Don Cheadle, Melissa Leo, and Robert Zemeckis vouch for it must be a pretty good story indeed. Plus, writer John Gatins based the script on his own struggle with sobriety, so we know it must also ring true. However, one can't help but wonder if it's responsible for Washington to portray such a character. The stereotypical image of an airline pilot is some white guy right out of Top Gun. But as airline pilots in real life diversify, it certainly can't help to have the first African-American one prominently portrayed on screen turn out to be a drug addict. So even if Washington's character is ultimately redeemable within the film, is he with audiences? Let's go find out. This movie seems like a bit of a downer.
It was an upper.
Oh, really?
I thought it was excellent.
Yeah?
It's probably the best Denzel Washington movie I've ever seen.
The message is very uplifting at the end, that if we're honest with ourselves, that we can find transformation and the power to change our lives.
I really like this movie. Like it's a downer, but you get so involved with the Denzel character that it's sort of brings you up, and then it sort of brings you down, and then it brings you up. It's almost like a roller coaster ride with him because he's like heavy into alcoholism. You know, he just can't stop drinking.
I have to ask you, usually pilots are portrayed as these Top Gun white guys.
And heroes
yeah,
as well.
And while they're very diverse in real life, you don't usually see an African-American pilot. Do you think it's at all irresponsible to show the first one prominently shown as a drug addict?
That is a great question. I think it gives the movie a little layer of honesty, but at the same time, as an African-American woman myself, I'm very conscious about the way in which popular culture portrays people of color in general. But I also think at the same time, there's realism to this story. So
yeah, it's kind of like a downer that way, but it's like he just sort of you just sort of go with Denzel. You just sort of, it's like Denzel, but I see what you're saying, like how like the first black person they show is he's like this alcoholic, but you just sort of feel for him,
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
He just sort of just brings you right into his character, and you just sort of stay with it the whole movie.
Actually, I didn't even look at it that way. I looked at it as a pilot. Actually, only because of the story. The story was deep.
Oh.
So I never even saw the actual color. I just saw the story.
Oh,
I said, that's a great story.
It was a great story? That's great.
Great story.
Well, it's interesting because the commercials are all about this plane crash, but that's actually a very small part of the film. How would you describe the film as a whole? Like, what kind of an experience is it?
It's an emotional journey, I think, because despite Denzel's character being a bit of an ass, you do sympathize with him because you realize that we all have faults and we all have things that we're not proud of. We all have ghosts in the closet.
The story is his addiction and how he deals with it, and his relationships with his family, his friends, the character of, I can't remember the actress's name, Mary Riley, who's in it, who's an English actress.
I don't know the girl, his girlfriend, like she's a drug addict. She was excellent. I don't know her name.
Oh, really? She's a British actress.
Yeah, she was very good, very good.
Well, it's an Oscar contender. Do you agree with that?
His performance, yes, his performance was good, and his story itself was good.
I think he has a great emotional range as an actor, and his performances, I think they're very nuanced, very subtle, and I think he's on top of his game in this film.
You work in a post office such as I do.
Yeah.
you see a lot of guys that drink and drive.
Oh.
Driving a postal truck.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, so
So-
that's kind of similar, right?
yeah.
Oh.
And I remember postal vehicle, the driver was trying to back up, and it took him like 3 minutes just to back up something that only took 30 seconds.
Well, you know, you said Robert Zemeckis, okay? This is his return to live action.
Yep.
All right. Is it as good as like a Forrest Gump?
I think it's better. He's
Really?
developed as a director.
Really?
He's come on, because obviously he did Polar Express, he's done Christmas
Yeah.
Carol. He's come back to live action movies now with so much more. It's like he's been sat waiting for something that's really sparked his interest, and with Denzel and Zemeckis, without those two people in if this movie could have been made by anybody else, it wouldn't have been as good.
What would you give the film on a 1 to 10?
Oh, about a 9.
I'd give it a 9.
I'm going to give it a 7.
I'd say 9, 9.5.
Sounds like when it comes to Denzel, resistance is futile, as audiences overall give Flight an 8.5. I'm Grace Randolph reporting from AMC Empire 25, and I hope we'll go beyond the trailer for these other top movies.